Good Tuesday evening. Thanks for joining us for Unscripted. And today, outside looked a lot like yesterday as we're bringing our chief meteorologist, Joe Charlevoix, here in northern Michigan. Not too bad. I'll take it. Is it supposed to be a calm night as well?
Yeah, and more tomorrow. So we'll see how long this train keeps going here.
Sure.
But it looks like, there's not really, Cody, though, even longer term, there's really not a lot of rain in our forecast. I mean, not going to give the whole forecast away right here, but, as we get into the weekend, it'll be a little cooler, but still doesn't look like a lot of rain coming up. So we'll keep an eye on that. We also, of course, have Hurricane Melissa, which is exiting Jamaica now, heading toward Cuba. We'll have more on that. And I'll look ahead at the rest of the week, including Halloween, a little later.
Thank you, Joe. Looking forward to that. For our top story tonight, $150 million. It's a huge number, and it reflects just how huge an impact March's massive ice storm had on just one of our electric co-ops. Disappointing news from FEMA last week has Presqu'île Electric and Gas considering its next move, how to cover the cost without having to pass it all along to its customers. Mark Gillette has that report.
We're still cleaning up debris, and we're still working on behalf of the membership to recover as much of these costs as we can through the FEMA process.
But Northern Michigan Power Company's hopes were dashed with word from FEMA.
So part of the FEMA appeal was denied.
That part, Category F, that deals with permanent repairs to essential utility infrastructure like power grids, denied.
We're disappointed to learn of that news for sure.
Disappointed because the price tag of repair and reconstruction over a handful of our counties continues to climb.
This storm is eclipsing of $150 million.
Presqu'île Electric Gas Co-op took emergency lines of credit to pay contractors and do the required necessary work to get the lights back on. Now they need to pay on those loans. The FEMA money would have helped.
It's extremely disappointing that we might potentially have to fund some of this natural disaster on the backs of the residents and members of northeastern Michigan.
The goal all along to not pass along the cost to customers. The FEMA dollars certainly would have lightened that load.
Not all is lost, and we're going to continue to have discussions with federal and state leaders and continue to try to tell our story and try to get as much recovery as we can, and even possibly consider getting Category F approved if that's at all possible.
Federal dollars may not be coming, but help still could come from Lansing.
$100 million sitting out there, and it has languished in the Senate Appropriations Committee.
$100 million passed the House 107-1 weeks after the storm and has just sat.
If we could just get the Senate to work on that, and if it needs to be amended or if there's a problem with it, let's talk about that. But they haven't even brought it up.
And that doesn't sit right with Up North lawmakers.
Yeah, very frustrated.
Who see the damage every time they return home from Lansing.
It's not a Republican or Democratic issue, Mark. It's a North versus South. If this had happened in Southeast Michigan, this had been cleaned up a long time ago.
But it's not. And with FEMA funding seemingly out of the mix for our utilities, hope that state Senate lawmakers will get motivated.
We need to lean and apply pressure on them to release that money to the counties so we can get some relief.
Utilities may have lost the battle for Category F FEMA dollars, but aren't surrendering the overall war. They're considering and exploring every funding option to address the tens of millions of dollars needed.
Our number one mission, number one goals is to recover as many of these dollars as we can. Our goal is to not have to pass this, but of course, if we are left with these costs, we need to find a way to finance this and recover and do this because electricity is absolutely essential to our daily lives and our community.
Thanks to our Mark Gillette for that report. Now, Michigan lawmakers allocated $14 million for ice storm recovery efforts in the recently approved state budget to help communities in northern Michigan. This funding is intended for cleanup, reforestation, and wildfire risk reduction, and it also serves as a state match for federal aid. We'll keep you posted on a House bill that called for $100 million that appears stalled in the Senate. Our question of the day does have to do with this story, which is, who do you think should pay for utility restoration costs from the March ice storm? You have a few different options: federal and/or state government, utility companies, or customers. You can, of course, still vote. You can scan the QR code on your screen now, or you can vote on our Facebook page or our website, UpNorthLive.com. As always, we'll take another look at that and the results later on in the show. Coming up next month in observance of Veterans Day on November 11th, the Grand Traverse Leelanau Antrim Bar Association is hosting Free Wills for Veterans. It will be at Traverse City Area District Library. To talk a little bit more about this event, we're going to invite Lawrence Lasusa onto the show with the GTLA Bar Association. Thanks so much for joining us. Can we take a 100-foot view first and talk just about the importance of a will?
Absolutely, Cody. Thanks for giving us this opportunity to share our volunteer attorneys program, Wills for Veterans. What we do is we provide free wills and free powers of attorney and free designation of patient advocate forms to veterans and their spouses free of charge on Veterans Day at the library. And the importance is that everybody has a financial plan in their mind as what's going to happen to their loved ones or how to take care of their loved ones when they pass away. Unless you put it down in writing, it doesn't do you any good. And so this is an opportunity for the veterans to make those financial decisions and make those healthcare choices and make sure that they have the documents in place to effectuate those decisions.
And when there's an event like this where these things are free and available, do you know how much money you all are helping these veterans save with an event like this?
Well, I'll give you an example. A typical probate of an estate could cost thousands and thousands of dollars, depending upon the size of the estate, the complexity of the estate. If you don't make a plan, you're going to be subject to probate. If you have a will, your probate process is a lot faster. It's streamlined. Sometimes you don't even have to go through the probate process if you do the proper planning in advance.
And when it comes to this specific event on Veterans Day, can you tell us a little bit about how this idea was born?
Sure. I founded it. I was the founder of the program, and I was inspired by the Chicago Bar Association. Lasusa Law Offices has offices in Chicago and Traverse City, and I'm a member of the Chicago Bar Association. And the Chicago Bar Association has a program called Wills for Heroes. And the Wills for Heroes program provides a similar event for first responders. And it was a outcropping of the need for taking care of our first responders as a result of 9/11. And so that inspired me to do something similar here in Traverse City and create the Wills for Vets program. And we expanded the Wills for Vets to wills and powers of attorney and healthcare powers of attorney or designations of patient advocate. So it's a pretty robust program that covers a lot of the financial planning that goes into estate planning, well beyond just a will.
And when you talk about this and the expansion, of course, that comes, I imagine, with attorneys. Do you all need attorney volunteers for this one coming up in November?
Absolutely. We really do. I'd like to try and inspire our local attorneys to join us in this event because it's one afternoon, it's only a couple hours of time, and the difference it makes in the life of life of a veteran and their spouse is a lifetime of change for them. And it's a great deal of peace of mind that you give to that veteran who gave so much to our country. And it gives us an opportunity to serve those who served us.
And if an attorney wants to volunteer, how can they?
They can contact the administrator of the Grand Traverse Leelanau Antrim Bar Association. That information is available at gtlaba.org. gtlaba.org. It's right there on our website. They can contact the administrator and let them know that they want to volunteer and are willing to provide their time and valuable expertise. And you don't have to be an expert. You really don't have to be an expert in estate planning at all. All you have to be able to do is read a document and help the veteran fill out this self-directed, very simple, state-authorized will. And it's the same with the power of attorney. And then we'll have volunteers from the local hospice organization, Heartland Hospice here in Traverse City, helping with the designations of patient advocate forms.
Yeah, now again, this happening November 11th, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. If a veteran goes, what do they need to bring?
Well, they should bring some form of military ID, their DD-214, a military ID card, something that shows that they were involved in service in our military. Every branch is welcome. We welcome all branches.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for spending some time to talk about this event coming up.
Thanks very much, Cody. We really appreciate the opportunity to let people know about this important program.
Yeah, no doubt. Lawrence LaSousa there with GTLA Bar Association. Again, Free Wills for Veterans, November 11th from 12 to 4 p.m. at the Travers Area District Library. Moving on, data centers are popping up across the country. In 2024, Governor Whitmer signed a tax exemption bill for these centers in Michigan. Now, very early conversations are happening to build a data center and power plant in Kalkaska County. Our Allie Baxter looked into the timeline of this.
This is kind of the one place that I see it working.
Kalkaska County prides itself on its space to grow. It's in the motto. But despite having the space, are residents ready for it to grow and include a possible data center and power plant?
I didn't know exactly what to think because I hadn't considered that we would be a location for a data center.
Cash Cook is the president of Kalkaska's Downtown Development Authority. In 2024, he was approached about the possibility of a data center being built in Kalkaska Township.
Looking at an opportunity of this magnitude is something that doesn't come to a small town like Kalkaska very often.
The idea was presented to county commissioners and township officials.
And both of them have had unanimous support votes to proceed with trying to make a development like this happen.
County commissioners even wrote a letter saying they strongly support the center being in Kalkaska's jurisdiction, with the belief it would add more jobs and increase tax revenue. What makes Kalkaska special for this project?
Basically all of the ingredients that you need for a data center co-located with a power plant.
Matt Ryan isn't a developer. He's a geologist who noticed Kalkaska County didn't just check every box for qualities to support a data center and power plant. It's the only area in northern Michigan that physically can.
You need high voltage electrical lines, you need gas transmission lines, you need public support is a big one. A lot of these projects die on the vine because of public pushbacks.
The biggest hurdle at the moment seems to be where to put it.
We're looking at a site of about 1,500 acres, maybe a little more. And everybody goes, holy smokes, that's a lot of property. Well, if you do the math, that's about 1% of the DNR property in the county.
That's because most of Kalkaska County, more than 50%, is owned by the DNR. The properties being eyed for the data center belong to the DNR.
Have to make arrangements for the developer to buy the property from the DNR. In order to do that, it would require legislative approval from the state of Michigan.
Cook says, as with any development, he expects not everyone will like the idea of a data center.
But in general, most people go, holy smokes, this is an opportunity that we actually should take a look at to see if it actually could happen.
In Kalkaska County, Allie Baxter, UpNorthLive News.
Now, Ryan says he's aware most data centers being built right now use a lot of water. What could make this development unique is it would be a closed loop system that recycles the water it uses. That brings us to our first break of the show. When we get back, we'll check back in with Chief Meteorologist Joe Charlevoix about how long these nice temps and this blue sky is going to stick around. Stay with us.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Welcome back to Unscripted. Today, outside, we had a day in October that I'm not going to necessarily complain about. We got some sun and some blue skies. We're going to bring our chief meteorologist, Joe Charlevoix. Joe, how long are these nice temperatures and these blue skies in northern Michigan going to stick around?
Yeah, well, at least one more day tomorrow, and probably for the majority of the area, even Thursday as well. I think we kind of cloud things up a little bit on Friday, but I said this off the top of the show, Cody, there's really not a ton of rain in our forecast coming up, although by the weekend it's going to be a little cooler and some clouds. Everybody's talking about that. That is Hurricane Melissa, which is exiting Jamaica now and will head toward Cuba late tonight through tomorrow. So I'm going to zoom in pretty close here. Let's zoom in right in on this. Oh, that's the wrong one. We'll do this one instead. There we go. So that is Jamaica right there. You can see the eye wall. This is our satellite imagery from space where the eye of the hurricane was. And if you notice, it kind of disappears as it crosses. Right? See it right there? And then how it kind of fills in. That's because as hurricanes move over land, they lose a lot of their punch. Shear of the trees, the hills kind of breaks it apart to some degree, and it doesn't have the warm waters to feed off of. But now it has exited Jamaica and again is heading toward Cuba. There's the latest on this, so this should strengthen back up somewhat again as it moves over the open waters. This is still about 200 miles southwest of Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, with winds still at 145 miles per hour. So there's where this will head. Cuba's that big land right there over eastern portions of Cuba. And then this will track off into the Atlantic and head further north with time. There you can see Category 2 storm by Friday and then eventually well offshore of the U.S. So the U.S. will not get a direct impact from this. Here's our weather map tonight. And we do have a front out to our west. There is some rain, but it's running into some very dry air pumping around high pressure over Quebec. We have an east wind. It's a very dry wind. So all that rain that you see there on radar is not going to make it here into northern Michigan anytime soon. It's going to stay off to the west of us. And here's what that looks like. There's the rain right now, dropping south. A nice day tomorrow. There's stormcast, quiet. Thursday, the system actually lifts back east of us. So it's kind of interesting. It's off to our west. It's like it just doesn't want to come into Michigan. Then it's going to fall south and then come up on the other side of us. But really kind of avoiding our area. Maybe a little rain south of Alpena. You can see that's Thursday night to early Friday. And then that's some snow, the purple, up there in parts of Ontario. But even there, they're not going to get a whole lot of snowfall. All right, it's that time of the year. Raking forecast. Yep, looks good tomorrow. Dry. Same thing Thursday. Dry weather. Not a ton of wind, a little breezy at times. Could see a couple showers there on Friday. That is about it. And you see that on Halloween. But the thing is, Cody, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we penciled in a few showers with cloudy skies. I still don't think there's going to be a lot of rain.
Okay. Sounds good. Not too bad. I'll take it. Thank you, Joe. That brings us to our next break. When we get back, high school football regular season just finished. We have playoffs coming up, and now we have some rankings. We're going to check in on those with Sports Director Harrison Beebe. Keep it here. Welcome back to Unscripted. Last Friday, we had a great close to the high school football regular season. Now we have playoffs to look forward to, and today we got some high school football rankings. To talk about those, we're going to bring in our sports director, Harrison Beebe. Hey, Harrison.
Cody, yep, that is correct. 9 weeks down, 5 more to go for teams that are hoping to play at Ford Field in the 11-player state championship games on Thanksgiving weekend. Maybe we'll see one of our schools down there. We'll have to wait and see how the next 4 weeks go before we can accurately predict that, though. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we can predict and reveal. That is the Associated Press state rankings for the season. What a year for the Gaylord Blue Devils. Had a unfortunate season. I think only about 3 or 4 wins a year ago. Back to a 9-0 regular season. The same thing they had in 2023. Gaylord finishes the year ranked 3rd in Division III. They'll host Marquette on Friday. Ludington also ranked 8th in Division IV. Orioles getting a 9-0 regular season for the first time since the late 80s. So that's a pretty cool season for Ludington to celebrate down there. And moving right along to Division VI, Traverse City, St. Francis, and Kingsley, both with 2 losses on the year, but both to very impressive teams, including Kingsley's loss to St. Francis. We might see them rematch in round 2 of the playoffs. They've got to get by their respective opponents this Saturday, though, before we see that. And then Charlevoix and Glen Lake, 2 strong programs in Division 7 and 8. No shock to see them still in the top 10 rankings for 11-player football. So, Cody, we're going to now move to 8-player, where we've got a couple of potential title contending teams in the mix. They're going to chase the Superior Dome in 3 weeks for the 8-player state finals. That'll be the weekend before Thanksgiving. Inland Lakes, the #1 ranked seed in Division 1, and they're going to host a good one with Pickford on Friday night. We've seen this one in the semifinals each of the last 2 years. Well, this time it's a first-round matchup between the Panthers and the Bulldogs, so it's exciting to see who's going to come out of that one to advance to the second round. And in Division 2, Onecum has been one of the stories all year, ranked 2nd in D2. And on the opposite half of that regional is going to be the Gaylord-St. Mary Mayo matchup, and those teams both ranked top 10 in Division 2 as well.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot there. And while we have you here, how about TC West and TC Central in the Patriot game last Friday? It was a great game, goes to overtime, a 1-point win for West. And now we get to get it again in the playoffs.
That's right, and I'm excited. In just a few moments, I'm going to talk to TC West coach James Wagner and get his thoughts on a quick turnaround to see your rival.
Yeah, looking forward to see some of that conversation. Thank you for joining us, Harrison. That takes us to our final break of the show. When we get back, we're going to take one last look at our question of the day and see what you said and how you voted. We'll be right back.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Welcome back to Unscripted, taking a look at our question of the day. Presqu'île Electric and Gas Co-op is looking at still recovering from March's ice storm, and they won't get Category F funding from FEMA. So they're looking at how to cover those costs. So we asked today, who do you think should pay for the utility restoration costs from the March ice storm? And 53% of people said federal or state government, where utility companies got 40% of votes and customers 7%. And looking at some of the comments that you left with this, Cynthia said FEMA covers hurricanes and tornadoes, so should cover 100-year ice storms too. Thomas said whoever owns the equipment, meaning the electric companies. Thank you for commenting, and thank you for voting, and thanks for joining us for Unscripted. Have a great night.